6 months. That's all Steve gave himself. Not 6 months to become a millionaire. Not 6 months to retire on a beach. Just 6 months to stop feeling trapped. Because every morning felt exactly the same. The alarm rang. Steve hit snooze twice, sometimes 3 times. He dragged himself out of bed, made coffee he barely tasted, sat in traffic, showed up at work, counted the hours until lunch, counted the hours after lunch, drove home exhausted, watched a little Netflix, scrolled on his phone, went to sleep, and repeated the entire process the next day. Sound familiar? The strange part wasn't that Steve hated his job. He actually liked some parts of it. The people were okay. The work wasn't terrible. The paycheck paid the bills. The problem was something deeper. Steve couldn't stop thinking about one question. What happens if I do this for the next 30 years? That thought terrified him. Not because working is bad, because he felt stuck. Like somebody else owned his time. And every time Steve looked online, he saw two types of advice. One group said, quit your job immediately. The other said, just work harder. Neither felt realistic. Steve couldn't quit. He had rent, bills, responsibilities. And working harder was exactly what he had already been doing. Then one evening, something happened. Nothing dramatic, no motivational speech, no life-changing seminar. And now Steve was sitting on his couch scrolling through social media when he realized something embarrassing. He had spent almost 2 hours consuming content. 2 hours. Gone. And he couldn't remember a single useful thing he'd learned. That moment bothered him. Not because of the 2 hours, because Steve started doing the math. 2 hours per day, 14 hours per week, more than 700 hours per year. Suddenly, he wasn't looking at 2 hours. He was looking at nearly a month of waking life. That's when everything changed. Steve made a decision. Instead of trying to escape his job, he would use his free time to build an escape route. And that's the first lesson most people miss. You don't escape a 9 to 5 by running away from it. You escape it by building something beside it. If you've ever felt trapped by work, by bills, or by the feeling that life is moving too fast while you're standing still, you're exactly who this channel is for. No fake gurus, no rented Lamborghinis. No promises that you'll become rich next week. Just real stories and practical money lessons that actually work. And if that sounds useful, consider subscribing. Now back to Steve. Because his first month didn't go how he expected. Like most people, Steve thought he needed a perfect idea, a business idea, a side hustle idea, a genius breakthrough. So he spent weeks searching, dropshipping, affiliate marketing, crypto, YouTube, freelancing, print on demand. He researched everything and built nothing. Then one day he noticed something. Successful people rarely start with a perfect idea. They start with a useful skill. That realization completely changed his approach. Instead of asking, how do I make money? Steve started asking, what can I become good at? Because money follows value, and value usually follows skills. Steve looked at what people around him complained about. Small business owners hated social media. Friends hated spreadsheets. Some people hated editing videos. Others hated writing emails. Every complaint was a problem, and every problem was a potential opportunity. Most people hear complaints. Steve started hearing demand. So he picked one skill, not 5, not 10. One. And for the next 60 days, he became obsessed with improving it. Not perfectly, consistently. 1 hour before work, 1 hour after work. Every day, no matter what. At first it felt slow. Painfully slow. Nobody noticed. Nobody congratulated him. Nothing exciting happened. And that's exactly why most people quit. They expect visible results too soon. Steve almost quit too. But around month 3, something interesting happened. The skill stopped feeling difficult. Things that used to take an hour now took 15 minutes. Problems that once looked complicated started feeling easy. And suddenly, opportunities started appearing. Not because the world changed, because Steve changed. A friend asked for help. Then someone recommended him. Then another person needed the same thing. The first money wasn't impressive, but it wasn't the amount that mattered. It was the proof. Proof that value creates income. And once Steve saw that, he couldn't unsee it. Then he discovered the second lesson. Most people try to increase income. Few people try to increase leverage. Leverage is simply work that continues helping you and after you've done it. A skill has leverage. A reputation has leverage. An audience has leverage. A digital product has leverage. An investment has leverage. Steve realized that every wealthy person he admired owned something that continued working after they stopped. So he stopped thinking like an employee for a moment. Not because of being an employee is bad, but because employees are often paid once. Assets can be paid repeatedly. That idea changed the way he spent his evenings. Instead of only consuming, he started creating, writing, learning, building, improving. Tiny things, small things. Things that looked insignificant at the time. But those small actions started stacking on top of each other. And then month 4 arrived. This is where most people make a mistake. They see a little progress and immediately increase their spending. Steve almost did. A little extra income showed up. And suddenly his brain started making suggestions. New phone, new gadgets, better car, better everything. But Steve remembered something. Lifestyle inflation is the enemy of freedom. The goal wasn't looking successful, the goal was becoming free. So instead of upgrading his lifestyle, he upgraded his options. He saved, invested, learned more, built more, and every dollar started working harder. By month 5, Steve noticed something strange. His job felt different. Not because the job changed, because his relationship with it changed. He no longer felt trapped. Because now he had choices. And choices create confidence. When a job becomes your only source of income, every problem feels bigger. Every bad day feels heavier. Every boss feels more powerful. But when you start building alternatives, the fear starts disappearing. That's the real reason people want financial freedom. Not yachts, not private jets, options. The ability to say no, the ability to breathe, the ability to choose. And then month 6 arrived. Did Steve quit his job? No, not yet. And that's important. Because this isn't one of those fake stories where someone magically escapes reality overnight. What actually happened was much more useful. Steve built momentum. He built skills, he built confidence, he built income streams, he built options. Most importantly, he built proof. Proof that his future didn't have to look exactly like his present. And that changed everything. Because escaping the 9-to-5 trap isn't really about quitting a job. It's about reaching a point where your survival no longer depends entirely on one paycheck. That process starts long before you leave. And for most people, that's actually good news. Because it means you don't need permission. You don't need investors. You don't need a lucky break. You don't need a miracle. You need consistency. You need patience. You need a useful skill. And you need to stop waiting for the perfect moment. Remember, Steve, the guy who thought he needed a secret, the guy who thought he needed a perfect business idea, the guy who thought freedom was something that happened overnight. It wasn't. Freedom was built 1 hour at a time, one skill at a time, one decision at a time. And if you're watching this today, maybe your 6-month start now. Not next Monday. Not next month. Today. If you enjoyed Steve's story, hit the like button and tell me in the comments. If you had 1 extra hour every day for the next 6 months, what skill would you learn? I genuinely love to read your answers. And if you want more practical money lessons, wealth building strategies, and relatable stories that actually help you move forward, subscribe and join Steve on the journey. Because the best time to build your escape route was 6 months ago, the second best time is today.